Hello everybody and welcome back to Reviews and News, and a couple of pieces of news first, I think, before I go into showing you what books I've read this week. There's a couple of crackers in there. So for those of you that have read A Rising Man, started the series A Rising Man by Abir Mukherjee. This was sent actually to me by Melanie from Mel's Bookland Adventures, and this is book 1 in the Captain Sam Wyndham series. Well, we haven't got book 2 yet, but book 3 is about to be published, so if you are Sam Wyndham fans, it's now available for pre-order and it's out on June the 7th. So I thought I'd just mention that it's called Smoke and Ashes. So if you have been following that series, I wasn't sure what to make of this. I was, I wanted more from this book 1. David really enjoyed it. So we are going to continue with the series. So if there's others out there that have been enjoying this, then obviously you can start pre-ordering that now. And then the Pulitzer Prize winners for 2018 have been announced, and the winner for fiction is called Less. It's by Andrew Sean Greer. I'll put all the details down below, and this has very much got an LGBTQ storyline to it, and it's about finding love later on in life, and I think that is really lovely. You know, it's not all about love. Falling in love isn't all about the youngsters and the kids. It's about finding that extra special someone. So I think that sounds a really lovely story. I'd like to read that myself. So that is the winner of fiction. For the History Prize, it's The Gulf, The Making of an American Sea, and this is by Jack E. Davis. Biography was won by Caroline Fraser for her biography Prairie Fires, and this is historical, and it's sort of a look at her life, her backstory. It's if you've always liked the film and the TV adaptations Little House on the Prairie, then I think you'd enjoy this one. It's very much of that ilk. She lived very much, I don't think she had an easy life though, an easy childhood growing up, but it has got those vibes to it. So I think that if that's the sort of setting that you like, then, and you like biographies, then I think that would be for you. The winner for the poetry is called Half Light by Frank Bidart. The non-fiction winner was Looking Up Our Own. Yeah, that's Looking Up Our Own. Didn't sound quite right, that, but yeah. It's called Looking Up Our Own, Crime and Punishment in Black America. And this is looking at the justice system in America and looking about how there are differences between different race and creeds. So I think that's quite an important book to be out there. So that's by James Forman. And then something funny to finish really with news is that there's been a survey recently, and what tote bag you carry around with you to do your shopping, or your tote bag to go and collect your books from the library or whatever, is supposed to be, psychologists are supposed to be able to work out what it says about you, the person in the type of tote bag that you carry around. So I think that's quite interesting. But I've just put here, what does it say about me with my plastic Tesco supermarket bag? I'm probably bag lady. So yeah, I find it really fascinating actually how psychologists can look at certain things that we do. But I just thought that just was a little something to make you smile. You know, what bookish bags we carry around says something about us. So yeah, it's quite fun. So yes, so let's get on now to reviews from this week. Now I've had 2 5-star reads this week, and the first one is The Astonishing Colour of After. Beautiful cover, and this is by Emily X.R. Pan. And this is, I can't remember whose channel I saw it on that's read it. I don't know if it was Janet from Swirly Girly Reads. I can't think. I'm sure it was hers, but I might be wrong. Or it might have been Eleanor's. What a beautiful book. Now, it's about loss and grief. And you know, as most of you know, that my mum passed away in March. And so I'm sort of trying to find, excuse me, some fiction books that are out there that, you know, sort of make you see things about grief in different ways. And I think grief is a very strange phenomena, really, because everybody sees grief differently, everybody feels differently. The circumstances with each person that you've lost makes you grieve differently. And I think there's always issues that we want to look back on or wish we'd done differently, and often there's nothing that you could have done differently, but you know, I think it's a period where you start then looking at what life's about, your own life, how you treat people. And I think that's very much covered in this. All the emotions that you go throughout grieving is covered in this, but don't be put off thinking it's more like a self-help group in the form of fiction. It's not. It's beautifully written. We've got Lee, who is she's from her mother's from Taiwan, her father's American, and she loses her mum, unfortunately, to suicide. And I think that the topics of suicide and depression are really well covered in here, and they're covered in a realistic way, because here we've got this young girl, I can't think if she's about 15 years old, that sort of age, really at the time where you know, girls need their mothers, they're just starting to you know, form relationships with boys, and difficult hormonal changes and things. And it's a time when she's really needing a mother. She's got this friend that's been her friend for a long time, Axel. They've grown up together as girl and boy next door, and she's starting to have feelings for him. And this is all going on in parallel to her mother's depression. And it does cover that how people, that it's not just the person that has depression, it's the family that's affected also. And she's trying to sort of maintain a normal life, as it were. Her father doesn't cope with the mother's depression very easily, so he takes more and more work away from home. So in a way, Lee becomes a bit of a carer for her mum. She realises all isn't right. She doesn't realise it's as bad as it, you know, as bad as it is for a mum to feel that suicide is she has no choice. But there's often times she'll come home and her mum's just curled up in bed and hardly speaks, and she's like that for days. The thing I like in here as well is that it shows how Lee's trying to lead a normal life through all this. You know, she goes to school, she's a very good artist. There's all, what's she going to do for a living, what exams, does she go to uni, and also the trials and tribulations of this boy, that do they just see each other as brother and sister, and has he got feelings for her, and you know, the usual teenage stuff. So that's also covered in here. But one day Lee sees, and I'm trying not to give too much of the plot away, but it's in the blurb, that she sees this beautiful red bird, and she sort of gets messages given to her. It's as if her mum is talking to her, and her mum is now this beautiful red bird. Now, as the story goes on, we could say that this bird represents sections in the book, sections that have could be classed as magical realism, because there's all sorts of things happening, all sorts of clues that are given to Lee, because she's been told by this bird that she needs to get to the bottom of her mother's backstory and go and meet her grandparents in Taiwan, who she's never met. And she keeps finding red feathers or symbolic. See, I very much, because as a spiritualist, I very much believe that we are given symbols things like feathers, and you'll sometimes hear a song that's a favourite. I know there's a song that we had, a piece of music that we had at my mum's funeral, and it's strange that, you know, you can turn the radio on, Classic FM or something, and the moment I'm thinking about my mum, that piece comes on. And I'm sure you've all had those moments like that. Or you suddenly, you know, get just symbols from birds. Birds are very much symbolic. So you've all got your own interpretation with this book. Not everybody would see that as magical realism. Some people would see that actually that is her mum is guiding her from the other side, you know, that has passed over to the other side, but she's guiding her in the right directions. It really is beautiful. It's sad, it's very emotional. I mean, I think it would be emotional for anybody, even if you're not recently grieving, like I am. I think it's a very enlightening book. I think it makes you look at things from a different angle and try to look at some of the positives and way forward. It's just beautiful. The prose is beautiful. It's well written. You have to get used to it being, you might feel it's a little bit disjointed to start with, because we've got life now when Emily goes to visit the grandparents. We've got the backstory really of her mother's depression and leading up to the suicide, and then we've got a section in there with her relationship and all the worries and woes of trying to lead a normal life at college and everything else. She's got some guilt there about something, which I'll not say what it is. And we all have some guilt over something, and you know, that's part of the grieving. There's not, more often than not, there's no need for anybody to reproach themselves for. It's just part of grieving. So I don't want you to be put off thinking, oh, this is all right, I've not lost anybody recently and I'm not grieving and it'll all be a waste of time. It isn't like that. It's really giving people a feel also of what it's like to live with somebody with depression, and depression that they can't be cured from, shall we say. And that's very important, I think, and you know, for young adults onwards to understand that. But it's just such a beautiful story, and it's so beautiful the moments when the red bird appears. There is actually in psychic beliefs, folklore, and it is a real life bird called the cardinal. I wish I'd got one of my tarot cards out. There's a beautiful picture of a red cardinal, a very spiritual bird, and it's I wonder if Emily has sort of researched into why the red bird came, because the red bird is very much association between people here on earth and people that have passed over. Yeah, so if you want to know more about that, it's not for everybody, but read a bit more into the symbolism of the cardinal bird. It's very interesting. So that's the astonishing cover of After, 5 stars. Then next, oh lordy, we're back in Scotland. Loch of the Dead, Oscar de Muriel. Now you'll recall that I was really excited to be sent this from the publisher, and as always I always give an honest review. I have read, this is the 4th one now in the series of the Fraser McGray series by Oscar. The first one, The Strings of Murder, I gave 5 stars, and then book 2 and 3 I gave 4 stars to. So you know, I always give an honest review, and I absolutely adored this book, absolutely loved it. Obviously 5 stars, but it's the best one in the series so far. Fraser and McGray are 2 detectives, and I've enjoyed from book 1 how their relationship develops and how they bounce off each other. The 2 very different characters. I mean, Fraser very much is from the Met in London, very much police procedural, everything has to be done right, bit of a stickler, you know, for the rules. And then we've got the complete contrast with Nine Nails McGray, who has had a tough life. And you know, you can read Loch of the Dead as a standalone. It's quite easy to read as a standalone, but you get more of the backstory with the others as to why McGray is the character that he is. But he's Scottish, he's very tough, he's very forthright, you know, there's no holes barred, he says what he thinks and he doesn't care who likes it or not. So complete contrast of characters, and they're amazing. There are elements of Gothic, I would say there are elements in here of the paranormal. They've got McFray's got himself a clairvoyant. This McGray, did I say McFray? See, I'm always getting them mixed up. McGray, McFray, Frey and McGray. McGray's got himself this clairvoyant tarot reader that every case he has to go and consult and see what she's going to tell him and what she sort of warns him about various things. So that's quite interesting, that's developing. This one, it's got all sorts in. You start off and you're hooked straight away. They've been asked to go to a remote loch in the Scottish Isles, and it's one of the maids there, one of the, because obviously they're all set back in time, they are historical crime fiction, 1889, this one. And they've been asked to go and look out for the safety. She gave her son up for adoption many years ago, and he's returning to the loch, and she's concerned for his safety and thinks that there's crimes, you know, that are going to be committed, and would they help. And there's a little bit of a teaser there for them to go, especially for McGray to go, related to everything regarding his sister. Now if you've read all the others, you'll know the backstory to what's been going on with his sister. And then if somebody sort of gives any sort of a hint that there could be something in it to help his sister, he will go, he'll be there, he'll be on that case. And the story, so you're hooked into it from the beginning, and they go and they stay in this house with the family, and all is not what it seems. It's very mysterious. If you love anything Gothic, if you love, there's a real element of physics and chemistry as well going on here. You know, there may well be one or two strange experiments going on in this house. So we've got an element of that in it. We've got bats. So we've got this very vampire-esque feel to it as well. It is really on the seat of your pants, you're hooked. You know, from the beginning you get into it, and as the plot builds, middle to the end, you're riveted. I was riveted. You're there on the edge of your seat, you know, willing this to happen or not to happen. And the characterizations, as usual, are really well fleshed out. You really love Frey and McGray together as a team, and the end is just amazing. There's twists and turns at every level throughout this book, and wow, you think wow. And it's you know, I enjoyed the others. Strings of Murder, a 5-star read for me. This is far better, far better. The level of and layers within this are very clever, and this is very cleverly written. So yes, if you don't know the series, it's a wonder, because I've covered it from when I first found this author, from day one, from Strings of Murder. David loves it first. In fact, because I was doing Book Buddy-a-thon, David read this first. I was very lucky, weren't he? I was very lucky to get the read of this first. But yeah, I was busy with Book Buddy-a-thon. So there we go. They're 2 5-star reads. Both very different, but both equally fantastic. So what have I got just coming up now this week? I'm about a quarter way through this, which is Sister of My Heart, which is by Chitra, Banerjee, Divakaruni. I hope I've said that right. And this is a family drama set in India. I just love family dramas set in India. And this is my read for my real life book club at the library. So I've got to finish that for Wednesday when we all meet up. And then I'm about to start a book buddy read with Cheryl, my lovely friend Cheryl in Canada, CR Flames fan. And this is Cards on the Table. Actually, we like reading Agatha Christie's Poirot together. And Cheryl sent me a list of the ones she's not read yet. So off I went to the charity shops, looking round everywhere to see if I could get. And out of about 10, I think, that she's got left to read, this was the only one. But this is a bit strange. Look at, it's a day for eyes, I think. We've got all those eyes on if you look at my previous video from middle grade Monday, there's something there with a load of eyes in plants, hidden in plants. These seem to be body parts, so we'll see what comes of that. So let me know how you're doing, what you're reading at the moment. Again, I'll mention it on this video in case you've not seen Middle Grade May. Please check that you are subscribed. I found recently that some of my long-standing subscriptions had been cancelled by YouTube for whatever reason. And I was thinking the last few weeks, it's strange, I wasn't getting many feeds of my favourites. And I couldn't understand why. And so when I looked through them all, quite a few of my subscriptions had stopped, had been cancelled. And I think it's because BookTube have altered loads of rules and things. So not just for my channel, go and check all your favourites and check that you are actually subscribed, because it's a shame for you to miss out on any of their posts. And obviously I'd love it for you to subscribe. I need to get up there to 1,000, as you know, the rules have changed. And you know, I need to get up to 1,000 now to meet the new criteria with BookTube. So I'd love those that haven't subscribed, if you wouldn't mind doing that. Those that think you subscribed, check that you properly are. And I believe now you have to press the bell so that you do get your I've just said, haven't I? So that you get the notifications, so that you know when your favourites have posted a new video. So yeah, let me know if you want to read Loch of the Dead or Astonishing Colour of After. Loch of the Dead comes out on the 31st of May. Astonishing Colour of After is already recently out, came out in March. So there's our news and reviews for this week. Take care. Bye.